Last time on the WizardCast.
And done!
Done with what?
I'm done with our disaster plan.
Really? Well, that didn't take long.
I put hours and hours into this plan that the CTO demanded.
You've been sitting there for 28 minutes.
Hours and hours, Mark.
Fine. I thought it was the CIO, not the CTO.
Close enough. I don't pay attention to the C levels anyways. Either way, it's done.
Let me see that. Brian, all you have written down here is everything is going to burn. We're all doomed like jalapenos.
Jalapenos.
Brian, I don't think you understand the concept of a plan. A plan is supposed to be an outline of something you're going to do.
Oh, that's written on the other side.
Oh. Run around waving our hands in the air while screaming, "We're doomed, we're doomed." Yeah, that's not a viable plan either.
But it is a plan.
We're doomed.
See? We're following the plan already.
And now the conclusion of the WizardCast.
I'm Brian Kwong.
And I'm Mark Ross.
We're Salesforce experts that love talking about technology and Salesforce.
We also love humor. Doesn't mean we're actually good at it.
In the Salesforce community, I'm known as the Salesforce Wizard, likely due to me wearing a wizard hat at Salesforce events.
And I'm known as Salesforce Yoda for pretty much the same reason.
You should see the ears.
We have a passion to help educate and entertain people.
So we've joined forces to create WizardCast.
We've got tips and best practices.
We talk with interesting people.
All mixed with quote-unquote jokes and humor.
Welcome to the WizardCast. I took a poll recently, and 100% of the people in the tent agreed that was a terrible thing to do.
Brian, this is a podcast. It's not a visual medium. The audience cannot see that you typed POLE in the script. It doesn't really work. It's like a tent poll versus a survey poll. It doesn't
Unless I make you describe it.
Curses. Fooled again. You know, what we need here is some sort of fancy transition between that terrible joke and the rest of our terrible content.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to work, Mark.
It is pretty terrible.
See, I was right.
Well, yeah. I guess this time you actually are.
No, not about the terrible transition, although it was a terrible transition.
Well, I'm officially confused. What do you think you're right about this time?
That our 91st episode is more special than our 90th episode.
And why is that?
Because this is our 91st episode without Park.
No. Seriously, Brian, no. We go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, tens of episodes without making the Parker Harris joke, and you're going to suddenly do it multiple episodes in a row?
It's a solid joke.
No, Brian, it's an old joke. People are going to think we're leading up to something.
But we are.
We are? Wait,
yeah.
Are you telling me?
That's right. It's official, and I can safely announce that today we'll soon have our 92nd episode without Parker Harris.
I hate you so much. It flames on the side of my face, breathing, breathless, heaping breaths, heaping.
Do I look like Hedley Lamar to you?
Different movie. For those of you in the northern hemisphere, summer is nearly upon us.
Wait, why do you say the northern hemisphere?
Because the southern hemisphere is heading towards winter, not summer.
I don't quite follow.
Okay, but in the southern hemisphere, Brian, the seasons are opposite of what we have here.
No, I get that. It's this hemisphere thing. I always thought that the people going into winter this time of year are from the parallel universe, where all the seasons are backwards and the water spins the opposite way down the drain.
I mean, you're kind of right, but not at all. It's not a separate universe. It's just the other half of the globe.
Globe? No, we're too big to fit in one of those. My teacher used to have one on her desk.
This exceedingly stupid banter is a very long-winded and not actually very funny way to introduce the Summer 19 Salesforce release.
But I thought you said half the globe is headed towards winter.
Let's just get to the release features, okay?
All right, Mark. You get a chance to read the release notes?
Oh, yeah, sure, yeah, no. Sorry, it's been a real busy week.
Week? We've been planning this for more than a week.
Month, it's the same difference.
All right. Well, I guess now for our news segment, Mark reads all 429 pages of the release notes live on the WizardCast. Take it away, Mark.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah, we've made that joke before, Brian.
Yeah, but you actually haven't read the release notes. You got to get caught up.
Ah, crap. All right.
For example, Mark, I bet you don't know that coming in Summer
19 release notes, page 2.
If you switch to Lightning from Classic, you don't lose the context of the record anymore.
I did not know that.
See, you would know that if you had read
I'd read the release notes.
Yes.
Yes.
Or that you can set filters and related lists.
Wait, what?
Yeah. So, like, if you're looking at a related list and you have, like, say, 100 records in that related list, you click View All. There's an option to filter it just like it's a list view.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'm clicking into the link here. It's only on View All, though.
That's what I just said. Yes.
Yeah. I'm just making sure, because that's kind of a big thing. Though we have to make sure people realize, like, it's not like a filter on any given related list. You have to click into the View All, and then you can see the filter.
Because you only see 5, maybe 10 records or something like that on.
Right.
Yeah, without clicking to View All. And then one that I'm really, really excited for. Do you know that activities component that kind of shows like a feed, like
the timeline? The
timeline. Yeah. I don't know about you. I've never really liked the timeline.
Really? I like the checkboxy part of it.
Yeah, but I don't work off of tasks that way. I work off the tasks off of the tasks, not from a related page of a record, right? So for me, it's more about I want to view and see what's happened when and who's doing what. And I found the timeline really challenging to do that. Well, you can now set an org default in Summer 19 to change the way activities display on those record pages. So you can make it enlightening. Yeah, of course. Why would we be talking about Classic, Mark?
Well, I'm just making sure we're
the timeline does not exist in Classic.
I don't know, Brian. I'm making sure, okay?
See, you wouldn't have this problem had you read the release notes.
Release notes, yes.
Yeah, this is going to be a next hour of me making the same terrible joke, right?
Well, that's much like every other show. You
can make an org-wide change to be able to say you want activities to look more like the related lists did in Classic for activities.
Well, it looks like it replaces the activity timeline with the related lists themselves. They just come back.
Yes.
Bring back related lists is what this does.
Yeah, it's like free to bet, but with related lists of activities.
Free activity related lists.
Woo! Okay. Now here's one I want your opinion on this, because I kind of feel weird about surveys in Salesforce. So you remember they came out with this feature, you had to buy it as an add-on unless it was a health hub thing. And then in this release, they're saying free surveys. And it's, in my book, it's kind of. Because you can send all the surveys you want for free now. You don't have to buy it.
That's cool.
But you get 300 responses an org max for free.
So you could send out 10,000.
Yeah.
What happens if you get 301 responses?
I don't think you get any more responses. It's not really clear what happens.
What, don't arrive?
Or maybe they can't respond? I don't know.
So,
quote free, unquote surveys. It's kind of like, hey, take a look inside my coat, man. I got some delicious surveys you want to try.
What are you doing?
First 300 are free.
Yeah, it's a little. It's not even like that. It's almost like you can use this microwave as much as you want, but you can only get food out of it 300 times.
Well, I guess if you never want to get
it eats your food.
Well, that's a hungry microwave. Do you do a lot of printing from the browser?
I personally don't, but I have had users that have. Like, it's a thing. It is a real thing. As much as many of us like live in the digital world, like 100%, there are a lot of people who just like, I just want to be able to print out this record so I can look at it on paper.
Yeah,
and it's really important to them.
My boss is one of those people for some things. It drives me nuts.
Yeah. Well, it's a thing.
Well,
don't invalidate their needs, Brian.
I'm not invalidating. I'm simply stating it drives me nuts.
Okay.
He's not responsible for my nutsy nuts.
Moving on.
Anyways, the Lex header won't print anymore. It's going to be hidden when you print from the browser, which would be nice.
The Lex header. So
Yeah.
what is that exactly?
The Lightning header. So, the header in Lightning.
So it just prints the record itself.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh, so the search bar, search box navigation bar. I see.
The header. And then here's something the timing of this is hilarious.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a customer who sent me an email saying, Brian, sometimes I get notifications that someone has assigned me a task, but sometimes I don't. I don't know why. And it took me
I've had it where users have gotten 2 notifications.
Yeah. Well, it was driving me nuts until I realized that they're in an org with a mix of Classic and Lightning users, and sometimes they have users that flip back and forth. So he was getting the notifications from people who were creating the task in Classic and
because it's a Classic only thing.
Because it was a Classic only thing,
right.
And then when they're in Lightning, it didn't send because it's not an option. And for the users who were switching back and forth, made it look like it was inconsistently sending, right?
Wow.
And you have no idea how much Google searching I did to try to figure out what was going on because I saw some inconsistent information about whether or not it was in Lightning. Well,
right.
Guess what? In Server 19, it's in Lightning.
And specifically, they can choose now. The user can't. Well, is this in personal settings? They can go to activity reminders. They can click on or click off. Email me when somebody assigned
Which,
me.
by the way, was available in Classic recently.
Was in Classic, yes. No, I remember.
But didn't apply to. It was weird. But anyways, now it's going to be there.
The lightning gap narrows
slightly.
Actually, there's quite a bit in this release.
I think it depends on your perspective. And how would you know? You haven't read the release notes.
I may have perused.
All right.
Didn't read in detail.
Here's the one I'm not sure what to make of. Custom color hyperlinks.
Okay, I'm clicking into this. Okay, well this only applies to the branding.
Right.
Yeah.
But
so it's like if you're T-Mobile and your color is pink, then your links can be pink. Why is that a bad thing?
It just seems odd that
it's a branding thing. You'd be surprised how much they get into this kind of thing. Like especially these major corporations where visual identity is such a huge part of what they are. Oh my goodness,
my links can't be blue.
I don't invalidate the needs, Brian. I guess think of this as something you're probably going to see as a request from a C-level.
I guess I'm more open-minded. Anyways,
I stand by my statement.
Other closing of the gaps in Lightning, being able to manage deleted fields is finally coming to Lightning. So
what do you mean manage them?
So like, if you delete a field, you can delete the field in Lightning, but if you want to erase the field, meaning that it's immediately out of the system, or you go, oops, wrong field, and you want to undelete it, couldn't do it in Lightning. You had to switch to Classic.
Oh, that's right. Oh, that was
so drove me nuts, right? Especially recently because I was doing a project for a PE org, and they have 100 custom field limit, but it's really 86 because you have about 14 fields that Salesforce creates on a custom object. And I needed to delete a whole bunch of fields, so I could create new ones, but I couldn't create new ones into the fields where they're erased.
Right.
Yeah, drove me nuts. But now you can actually do that in Lightning. Speaking of limits, custom object limits being raised to 2,500. Now that's a hardline max. It was based upon the addition. But now what they basically have said is there's a hardline max of 2,500. So
no black tab. Contact your support and have them raise it.
Well, it may be raised, but the max that could raise is be 2,500.
Right.
And that's really being there for like App Exchange purposes, right? Because tons of people are burning through custom objects like crazy because of App Exchange packages.
Yeah. Well, and it looks like this specifically says you can create up to 2,000 custom objects in your org. On top of that limit, you can also install up to 500 custom objects from packages.
Right. Here's one that I had a little Twitter fun with because it was driving me crazy. And that is Popup blocker notifications. So at work, I use Chrome and I use Firefox. And sometimes when I'm cruising around setup in Firefox, I will get this message that says, navigate to this page. We would like to open up the page, and then it'll give me the URL in a new tab. Because of your browser settings, we need your permissions first. And then I would click open, and what it would do, it would open a new tab, but it wouldn't open the page without the lightning header or sidebar. So think of you're in the setup, and you click users from the menu. So instead of having your list of users with your setup menu to the left and your Lightning object manager and search and everything at the top, you just got the user list. And what's worse, the user list, none of the links would work.
But
right? And every time you would click on it, it'll give you the same message. Hey, you have to open a Popup. You have to open a Popup. And finally, I complained on Twitter, and Salesforce Docs came back and said, yeah, you need to change your browser settings. But I guess it's like a security feature type of thing that they're doing, but it doesn't make sense because there's no iframe outside of Salesforce. It's Salesforce. It's a Salesforce page. Well, that blocker is coming to Chrome now, and it's my concern that I'm going to have the same issues in Chrome that I've been having in Firefox.
Yeah.
Yeah. So in Firefox, there's this whole thing called content management, and you can put an exception out there, or you have to dramatically change how your content management in Firefox is handled. Because
this says you can disable it in your browser.
Yeah, but to me it screams security risk, because it makes sense that you want to have this if it's a valid pop-up, but when I'm going to a page in setup, I'm staying in Salesforce. It should not give me that pop-up. I think it's a erroneous error. You know what I mean?
Well, this says specifically it's a pop-up. It says to disable the browser's pop-up blocker.
Yeah, but it's not a pop-up. All I did was click on users to go to the user page.
It pops it into a new tab.
I didn't want it in a new tab. I was opening it in the existing one.
Okay.
Right? And even if it did open in the new tab, it wasn't opening in a new tab correctly.
Well, that sounds like a you problem, Brian.
No, it sounds like a Salesforce problem that ticks me off.
Oh, that's right.
Time.
It's actually the opposite of a you problem. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So I'm going to post a link to the help document because I don't have a fancy bit.ly. But if you really want to, you can go to help.salesforce.com/article_view?ID equals 00031284 at ampersand type equals 1 ampersand mode equals 1, and you'll get there. Or you could just look at the show notes.
Yeah, show notes.
Show notes.
I highly suggest if you can do that, if you can typo that as he just said it, good on you.
Mm-hmm.
We should hire them.
Yes.
For something.
Hey, they can write the disaster plan.
They could read the release notes for me.
You know, I'm surprised you just didn't use Alexa or maybe Einstein and go, Einstein, read the release notes.
Is that a thing?
I don't know. Probably not.
We should try it.
I don't know about you, but Einstein doesn't respond to voice activation for me. Mainly because I don't have Einstein whatsoever.
Isn't that in the phone? I guess it's not yet. It's not available in phones yet.
Anyways, other Lightning changes, search and navigations. So, the first one is search results reflect how you navigate. And so if you think about it, if you're clicking on tabs and things like that, you're likely going to certain objects more than others. And so those objects probably have a higher priority for you. And so what will happen now is when you search is the objects that you search or you go to the most will be bubbled up at the top.
So it's more intelligently,
I guess,
is surfacing them. Einstein search.
I guess everything's being branded Einstein or something, right? Other things, and this is one thing I really like, is being able to figure out what was searched really quickly. So, when you do a search and you come up with lots of records, not all the records show up in that list, right? Because you might have hits across multiple objects. And what has now happened is in the search results, in addition to showing here's the objects, it's going to tell you the number or indicate potentially a number
on the sidebar,
of results on the sidebar, as well as underneath the object name in the list view. So it'll say things like opportunities 5+.
Right. Files 3.
Right.
Dashboard 0.
Right.
Yeah.
Contacts 1.
Blue 42. Hut.
Podcast episodes -2. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Here's one that kind of made me laugh. So, when you click the little arrow in Lightning next to the tab, it drops down like recent items.
Recent items, recent lists. Yeah.
Well, it's going from a max of 3 to a max of 5.
Okay, why is that funny?
Because it's like you're adding 2 items. It seems like a really odd thing to go, hey, we put work into this to show you 2 more extra items in your recent records.
It's a change, Brian.
No, but
it's the way Salesforce works.
It's like so minor.
Welcome to documentation.
Yeah. It's kind of like, I don't know. When I guess I look at it, it's like, it seems like the fan force seems much higher than what it actually is. But that's just,
that's the thing. That's what release notes, half of the release notes are. It's not just communicating to users. It's also celebrating what they've done, right? And saying, hey, you said that you wanted something. We effing did it.
Yeah.
Yay! Like,
speaking of weird things
weird
things that are celebration, you can set up your path now that when someone closes changes your pick list value through the path, it will shoot confetti on the page. Whee!
Did we not actually do an example that was like this in one of our sessions at Dreamforce?
Yes, multiple times. I had a Visualforce page that shot JavaScript fireworks when you closed an opportunity.
You absolutely need to be speaking to someone about copyright infringement. Wait, you didn't copyright it. Never mind.
Yeah.
You're SOL.
Well, it's confetti. It's not fireworks.
Okay.
Someone told me this was done during a hackathon type of thing. So it's a little on the weird thing because it only works if you select that status or stage or whatever the pick list is called from the path. So if you changed it through the record, like through a dropdown,
it's tied to that path component.
Yeah, you won't get it. Or if it's done through automation, you won't get it. It has to be done through the path component. Forecast quotas. In collaborative forecasting, you used to have to use data loader to put them in. There is now a way to add them directly in Lightning.
This is huge, right?
If you're using forecasting, yeah.
Yeah, this actually makes forecasting actually viable now in Lightning as opposed to just kind of half done and requires a whole lot of extra effort.
Yeah. And there's a few other forecasting things that are out there involving like groupings and stuff like that I didn't bother to put into the list to talk to Mark, mainly because I don't use forecasting.
But
if you use collaborative forecasting, go check. There's I believe there's 3 different things, including the forecast quotas in the release notes.
Yeah.
For a bunch of people, this is going to be a big thing, Mark, is account and opportunity partners are finally accessible and visible in Lightning.
Yay!
I don't.
This actually is a big deal.
I don't use them, but I know a lot of people who do use them, and it's been one of the big things preventing them from moving to Lightning. You ever use product schedules in an org that you manage?
No.
Do you know what they are?
Yes. The reason we've never used them is because you've never been able to customize them before.
Yes. And now you'll be able to customize them
both
by able to add new fields, custom fields to it, as well as setting custom frequency. So I believe, if I remember correctly, the default was like monthly and quarterly. So you can say, I have this opportunity product, and instead of having all the revenue or all the quantities coming in at once, you can say every month or every quarter, X amount of dollars or X amount of the quantity is going to be coming in as part of that product. Which was nice for like forecasting purposes to be able to say, hey, your revenue is actually coming in every month. So think subscription lies. It works out really well. And things like that. Well, with customizable product schedules, you'll be able to add your own custom fields to it, and you can create your own little actions to be able to go through and say, hey, I want this to be weekly instead of monthly. Right.
Now, this is actually a big change that's going to enable Salesforce to have more ERP-like function.
Right.
This is going to be a big thing. And from the looks of it, it's almost making product schedules a class 1 object. Not quite.
But not quite.
So you're going to get custom fields, validation rules, buttons, Apex triggers. Holy hell. But you can't actually use it in Process Builder or Flow or Workflow yet. So almost a class 1 object, but this is a big step
almost
towards
there.
Big step towards ERP.
All right, I got a funky question for you, Mark. And this may
I'm
be
ready
weird
to get
because you're now a Salesforce employee, but do you use the Lightning email composer?
No.
What do you use?
Chatter and Gmail.
Well, yeah, I meant to send email.
Yeah, Gmail.
Yeah,
Everybody goes straight out of Gmail.
Okay.
Because I don't typically interact with customers, right?
Okay. So something new is if you click on an email link in Salesforce, a user can decide, do you want it to open up an email in Lightning email composer? Or you can have them choose to open up the default email composer, the computer's default email composer instead.
Oh, nice.
Now, I believe the default for this when this goes live is that you click on the email and it's the Lightning email composer that opens.
Yeah, it looks like it.
Yeah, so you need to go into the personal settings, and under email settings, there is an area to say which composer do you want to select.
This is the personal settings. This is a user by user basis.
Right, and I think this makes a lot of sense for those who are using Outlook on the desktop. I don't think it would work for Gmail.
Yeah, Gmail can be set. Windows has the capability to set Gmail as your...
Okay. I may have to try that.
Basic Gmail, yeah.
Letterheads. You use Letterhead?
No, because I don't.
There's a bunch of
Salesforce.
Bunch of updates with email letterheads with Lightning. Like you can put images
like
in there, and
in Lightning, because those were classic features before.
Right. Well, the big thing here is, and what I think a lot of this is for, is when it comes to images, is that the rich text editor is being updated to be able to support doing like copy paste of images, which means everywhere that rich text editor is being used, you can now get those images in place. So those are things like the email templates and the email itself, the flow rich text component. I'm gonna guess rich text field in general. So, you have a lot more control to be able to do custom HTML. So you can do your custom styling. You can add merge fields. You can add images. You can add links. Being able to finally have letterhead in for the Lightning templates is kind of a big deal for people.
Indeed.
Yes. Tasks. We talked briefly at the top about activities and the activity timeline changing, potentially. Yep. Well, now that task tab, you can have a filter for my tasks or my team's tasks.
This is in the list view, right?
Yeah. So if you're, the task tab. So if you are a manager and you want to be able to see the tasks of the people who report underneath you in the role hierarchy.
That's pretty big.
You couldn't do it before and now you can.
Yeah. You needed a report before.
Yes.
And now, so that's really nice.
So that's kind of nice. Speaking of activity changes, the events. So, if you go look at the calendar, you see events as a calendar. There's now an option to be able to see that as a table, so a regular list view.
Me likey.
Yeah, I don't use events like that in Salesforce. It's just synced with my calendar. But for people who do, it can be nice.
Absolutely.
Okay. There's a bunch of reporting dashboard stuff, Mark.
Yes.
Which you would know if you read the release notes.
How's that for a callback? Anyway.
Yeah, a number of tabs, yeah. Well, the fact that you're looking through this list that I put together with the links to the release notes.
Yes.
Right.
I'm just saying yes.
You are correct, sir. So there are things for Lightning, for example, searching within reports.
Yes.
So this is kind of like doing a Control F, in my opinion.
Except it's a dedicated button.
But it's a dedicated button. But that's kind of nice.
It's really nice because frankly, Control F doesn't always work very well.
And it doesn't always work. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. So this is much better. You
were able to now create those historical tracking reports in Lightning before you couldn't do that.
Yes.
Which
that was such
annoying.
A pain in the butt.
Something that I want to play with, but I'm trying to come up with a good example to do this for. And that's sorting dashboard components by the groups and their measures. So think of, I want to sort by alphabetical, the way I'm grouping dashboard components. I want to see all the owners of opportunities in order of their alphabetical name. I think it would be, or by the total number of dollars or something that they have, I think is what it is.
Right. Yeah. So I think this was in Classic.
Yes.
And they've added it now in Lightning. Also, I'm reading this here. It says it also supports 2-level sorting. So you can sort
Which is pretty cool.
Sort by, then sort by. Yeah.
Sort by,
then sort by.
I'm
looking at, there's one thing that's really interesting here. So this is an interesting change in a paradigm for Salesforce, because normally they've been kind of reluctant to make changes like this in the past because of things that have already come before, right? Specifically, all the dashboard components that existed before, they're going to be broken by this existing change unless Salesforce does something about it. So what they're doing is they're actually, if you have dashboard components before this change,
which is almost everyone in Salesforce. Which is almost everyone,
exactly. They're going to have a different sort option available to you. Apparently it's called report grouping. And it's basically a holdover. It's only going to be there on those components that were created before the release. Anything created after the release is not going to have this, but it's purely just there to give a compatibility between the old style and the new style.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, so I'm very much appreciative of them doing that. I think they've been reluctant to do that because it'd be a bit confusing, because why does this have it and this doesn't have it? But frankly, it all just works, and that's the way it should be.
Yes. Lightning tables. You use lightning tables?
I have done in the past.
I think I've created one. Well, now you can get subtotals on the first level groupings.
That's really good.
Which is nice. It makes it more report-ish.
I think. Yeah.
Yeah. And then conditional formatting in summary matrix reports. Woo! I really like this. I kind of wish you could do the conditional formatting in Classic, or not Classic, in a tabular report. Being able to do things like, hey, I'm going to sort by, I don't know,
sort by
account
range.
Name. And so, like you do in an account with opportunities report, you don't want to group by the account name, but you want to sort by the account name, and you want to have to make it easier to read, have coloration differences between the various groupings, I guess is a bad word for it, but clusters of accounts. I would love to be able to do something like that. But this, it would be pretty
exactly like it was in Classic.
Yeah.
If you're expecting something that's perhaps better, no. This is basically just bringing it forward, which is still good.
Yeah, better than nothing.
Only on subtotals.
But you know what's gonna blow your mind, Mark? You know what's gonna blow your mind? It's blow your mind. Do you do subscriptions? Report subscriptions?
Actually, yes.
Okay. Have you ever gotten a report subscription that was sent to you when there was no data in that report?
No.
Oh well.
But I have
other for you.
Yes.
What about if you had something that was really important, and the whole reason you're sending the report out is because they need to know some critical piece of information, like you just got your 101st opportunity for the quarter.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Right?
Yeah.
So now you can get notified. The people who are subscribed to the report can get notified based on when conditions are met. So like you can do things that say, hey, there used to be 100 records there. Now we're at 101. Send a notification about that report meeting the criteria.
So it's kind of like report workflow.
Kind of.
That's email only.
Email only.
Email only.
The other thing, you could do that with, hey, the sum of the dollar amount just went over $1 million or something like that.
Yeah.
What I think is interesting about this is, at least the way I read the release notes, it sounds like it's immediately. So whereas subscriptions are usually scheduled based off of, hey, it's once a day or once a week or whatever it's set up to do, it looks like the moment that report would meet that criteria, people get that notification. And by immediate, I'm going to guess within an hour.
Right.
But not having to wait until the next day to know that that report suddenly meets the condition that people think is worthy enough.
That can be big.
That is pretty cool.
Yeah. There's a lot of stuff in this release.
I think there's a lot of stuff, but it seems like a lot of small stuff overall.
But
collectively, it feels large.
Making a big difference, yeah. Now comes the good stuff, yeah?
Automation. Should we move on to automation?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Okay.
All right.
Too bad. We're skipping sections.
No.
Because you didn't read the release notes. No. Custom metadata types. Hi, Vladimir. We can now reference them in Process Builder.
Yay!
And there was much rejoicing.
Jen Lee is going to be so freaking excited.
If you listen quietly, you can hear Jen Lee jumping up and down.
Off in the distance.
Do you hear it? Oh, wait, no. That's just my humidifier.
If you listen closer, you can hear the majestic Jinli bouncing up and down in excitement.
Way to go, Attenborough. Process Builder for Notification Builder. Basically being able to build your custom
I love this.
notifications using Process Builder. So if you do not know what Notification Builder is, holy cow, you need to get in line.
Yeah, you do.
You can create custom notifications and then use
push
process
notifications.
Yeah,
right?
push notifications, like the little bell icon that you see in the upper right hand corner or on the phone.
People's phones, yeah.
Right? You can use Process Builder to say, hey, when something meets this criteria, go send this custom notification that you already built.
This is freaking huge.
It's gigantic. Think email that doesn't suck.
Email that isn't email.
Email that isn't email, yeah. But, you still get that notification on your phone.
That's exactly what I want in life. Email that isn't email.
Yeah. So I'm kind of scratching my brain trying to think of really cool
use cases?
Yes, use cases. Thank you.
I may not have read the release notes, but I can read your mind.
Look, I'm being cheap. I haven't turned the air conditioner on in my house. It's like 78 degrees in here, and I turned off the fan for audio quality, and I'm beginning to boil. Flow changes, dependent pick list, that screen component, you can now make it required.
Cool.
Yeah, nifty.
Happy. Mm-hmm.
This one I was trying to figure out how to demo. I don't know how to demo this for my user group meeting.
Because you can't intentionally screw up, Brian. You're incapable.
You can now prevent invalid processes from being saved.
This has happened. This has happened to me. Like somehow they get saved, and I don't know how.
Right.
You come back to it, and you're like, "What the hell?"
But here's the weird thing with me. It I've had it happen once, and then I go back and I clone it to go fix it, and I don't fix it. I just hit save, or
it works,
and it's through an error.
Oh,
but it did it through an error
the
first time. Yeah. So yeah, it's like I was trying to figure out how do I visually show this, because even the release notes, there's no examples of what would be an invalid process.
I have good news for you, Brian. This is an audio format. You don't have to show it to us.
Yes, but I need to show it when I do this to my user group meeting.
Oh, fine.
All right. So, but anyways, it's there. That's cool. Something I got kind of excited for when I read the title for this, and then kind of got less excited.
Don't be fooled by this title.
Was create flows from flow templates.
It's not what it sounds like.
It's not what it is.
No.
So I had this vision that, oh my goodness, that means there's going to be like these sample flows. I can say I'm trying to do this type of flow, and it's going to like pre-build a flow with elements in there, and I just have to make some modifications or additions to it. No, that's not what it is. No. So if you're a flow user right now, you go and hit the save button. You have to say, well, what type of flow are you creating? Is it one with screens? Is it one without screens? Well, now instead you define that when you create the flow versus when you save the flow.
Right. Which, gets in front of a lot of stuff, and it's going to enable a feature that is in the next few down the line here.
Yeah. So, we might as well just skip ahead really quick and say, well, the reason why that's important is because now that Flow knows what type of flow you're building from the onset, it can hide the elements that are not supported in the one that you selected. For example, if you select an auto launch flow, that means you can't have a screen element. You won't see a screen element.
Yeah.
Now, I like this, but I will admit there's been plenty of times where I've started with, I'm going to do this type of flow, and then realize as I'm building it, no, I really need the other.
But you really should be thinking about this ahead of time. Like, I like that this is going to build more discipline for people, where they're actually going to start their thinking and their planning earlier than where they would have ordinarily.
Yeah, well, to be fair, that typically happens when I'm like building Wizard Apprentice videos.
Yeah,
and not real flows. Anyways, so that's going to be kind of nice. I'm going to guess it's hiding actions and other things that are not supported in there too. So, that'll be nice.
Buttons.
Shannon, I'm going to tell you this right now. Thank you so much.
Shannon HALE.
Shannon HALE.
Undo buttons. Copy paste. Back in the Lightning Flow Builder.
It's actually not a copy paste. It's a duplicate button.
So whatever. Same.
better because instead of 2 clicks, it's 1 now.
Yeah, fine. But, you know, 50% improvement. My only gripe is I really wish this existed a little bit earlier, because I just finished building this really long flow where I had to copy and paste. Well, I couldn't copy and paste. I had to duplicate the same 2 elements 7 different times. They were 100% exact. They were just linked in different places with different paths afterwards. Oh, it was painful. But
you could have done that with stages, you know. Just 1 element with multiple stages.
No, I couldn't. Not with use case. I'll show it to you later. Right. But anyways, those are going to be in the new Lightning Flow builder, which is amazing. There's a whole bunch of things coming with the rich text. So you remember rich text in the display screen. Well,
and help text.
It's
help text
there.
Help text. Yes. Yeah. Rich help text.
Yes. Rich help text. Choice labels. A bunch of little tiny things like that, which is going to be really, really nice. Yeah, I do. But it means font size, color, alignment of the text, doing merge fields, bullet points, numbers.
Pictures in the help text. Pictures, oh my God.
Okay. Or in the text display text screen. I don't know what I would think about having it in the help text, because pictures can be kind of wonky rendered.
There's potential.
But there's potential. Increase of usage-based entitlements. Now,
I'm gonna step away from this topic. I am an employee. I can't speak to this.
Okay, I will speak to this.
I abstain.
So, I will say, from a transparency, I have very vocally talked with PMs about this, because I freaked out where they're saying, hey, we want you to use Process Builder, we want you to use flows. And then they come with this usage-based entitlement, which is saying we're effectively putting a soft cap on how you can use those features, how frequently you can use them, the type you can use them, how many you're using in tandem. It wouldn't prevent you from going over the cap, but if you're consistently going over, they're going to charge you extra. And from an admin standpoint, that's crazy, because you're asking me to move all my workflows and everything into these features, but not use code because it's declarative. And you are then going to say, but we might charge you for that, but we're not going to give you a way to figure out if you build this workflow in Process Builder, are you going to be at risk of going over your usage limit or your usage-based entitlement? Frustrating as all heck. Well, now some of the entitlements are going on. So, for Enterprise and Unlimited editions, they're now up to 20 million flow interviews with screens per month, and 10 billion. Am I reading that right? 10 billion. There's a lot of zeros. Interviews without UI per month, which is a huge dramatic increase. And then there's going to be additional interviews added based on your license count for certain types of license. So like Sales or Service Cloud or Content User license, which is good, which means as your company scales, your usage can scale to a certain degree. And the usage is so high, I think it's going to really impact only a handful of orgs out there that are really heavy utilizers, lots and lots of people. Okay. That said, the other thing that I'm excited for is the Automation Home. And that's a beta feature. But Automation Home is going to give you, well, some stats on your automation, right? It's a way to kind of analyze what's happening. So it's a beta feature. I'm not a big fan of making a big deal about beta features because things can change between beta and generally available. But you can look at the Automation Home and you can keep track of what the usage has been in the last 30 days. You can take a look at some various measures for like how total number of screen flows that are being completed in a period of time, the average completion time by flow, things like that will help you get an idea of how is your organization using automation, and if you continue to build more automation, are you at risk of potentially hitting one of those usage-based entitlements? All right, do you feel you can talk now?
Yeah. You like how I didn't say anything through that whole spiel?
You grunted a lot.
I didn't say anything.
I wasn't sure if you were like picking fleas out of your fur or something.
I didn't say anything.
Yeah.
Was it? Yeah.
I kind of like this part of the podcast where Mark says nothing. Improved validation and error messages. for flow assignment elements.
Okay, so basically it's improving the error messages.
Yeah.
And me personally, as somebody who is literally writing error messages for Salesforce product, like to see this kind of thing warms my heart. It's like, yes, you are actually attempting, my fellow Salesforcians, to write things that are human understandable as opposed to just, dev speak. So yeah. This is happy.
So it'll be things like, my constant isn't a variable that can be set by an assignment element because it's a constant, right? It can't change. Yeah. Or in the assignment element, the add operator can't be used with the myRecordVar variable, maybe because it's like a string variable, or in this case, it says myRecord, so it's probably an S object record. This is my favorite one. In the assignment element, fabulous isn't a valid value when the myNumberVar variable is set with the equals operator.
Fabulous is always a valid value, in my opinion.
Well, and it's because they're trying to set a variable that's a number with a string called fabulous.
Right,
It's the fact that they just said it's fabulous.
Fabulous.
Same thing being able to do things like saying, hey, you have a Boolean variable and you can't set it to something that's not true or false.
Right.
So there's those types of things are kind of like, well, duh. But at the same time, often when you're building quickly, or you're one of those people who maybe don't use a consistent naming convention, it could be very easy to forget, oh, this variable is in this format, and so I have to use whatever.
Yeah.
So that's good.
Next. Service.
For those of you guys who use bots chats, you can now transfer them mid-sessions.
Your bots can do handoffs.
Yep.
Now you can get mad at a bot for handing you a case that you didn't want instead of a person.
Knowledge articles. You can now search them from any object, and I think that's actually pretty cool.
This is great. Yeah, it's a lightning component you can put on any page. Mm-hmm. That's the knowledge search. I love it. Your
case emails can now include community and site article URLs.
So URLs to...
Hey, this is the public site URL to the knowledge article.
Yeah.
And because of the rich tech changes...
That was in Classic. You just couldn't do it easily in Lightning.
Yeah. Now, because of the rich text changes, you can also paste those images into the article of rich text, which is nice.
And directly. Yeah.
Right.
Well, so it's a copy paste. You could literally copy into your clipboard an image and then paste it directly into the article without having to actually save it as a file.
Yes. Lightning flow for service. This is really all around Einstein and that next best action thing. So
I really think this is going to be a big thing someday. And
someday for people
I don't have a good grip on it yet.
If you have it, I can see being useful, especially if you have a whole bunch of different flows that fire on cases.
Yeah.
Right? Or next best action like an opportunity. But I haven't really found an organization that used flows in that manner.
Yeah, but they could.
They could.
This is what I'm talking about. Like, this feels like the next level of flow, and it feels like...
I think it would be really helpful, if you're listening, John Kucera, it would be really helpful to be able to provide some, like, concrete use cases of, hey, these are the type of scenarios that if you have flows written this way, that it would actually be beneficial to use these next best actions. Because in my experience, it's always been, at this point, you should click this button that fires the flow. There's not a question about, hey, you might have more than one out choice. All right, here's the big one. Email messages and files in a related list on your case. So if you're especially like using email to case and you're driven nuts, say, oh, you have to go to the task, then you have to go to the email message, and then you can see the file. No longer. You get a related list. It's so pretty.
No, this is actually files that were attached to the email, not the email itself.
Yeah, that's what I just said.
Okay, yeah, no, I'm making sure that's clear because I didn't quite get that when I was listening. So looking at the list here, if there's an email that contains a file, it will now appear in the files related list, and no longer the attachments related list. Let's get rid of the damn attachments related list. Thank you very much.
Yeah, the email used to be tied to the task, so you had to go to the task to get to the email, and then the email to the file.
Now it's directly,
So I'm officially declaring Summer 19 the release of the betas and pilots, and there's a bunch of them.
Unofficially official.
betas are things that you probably have access to, but are not fully featured, meaning that things can change.
And they theoretically could kill it at any time.
And they could theoretically kill it.
They have
or add
done it
new
before.
features, things to do. Salesforce says these are not production ready. If you read the release notes, it's kind of like a generic text in the release notes saying, hey, this is not a production ready feature. But you could still use it in production if you wanted to. And then pilots are things that are typically not an open pilot, meaning you have to be accepted into it. I usually don't make a big deal of it, but because there's so many of them, we're going to mention some of this so you get an idea of what's coming.
Lightning round this. Yeah. You see what I did there?
No, I don't.
Lightning
but
round.
One that I'm really excited about, in-app guidance. So, when you first switch over to Lightning, there's all these little pop-ups that show that, hey, welcome to Lightning. This is where your tabs are. This is where whatever. You can create your own prompts now and say, hey, these are the profiles I want to see it, or I want everyone to be able to see it. And I want this to be valid from this time to this date. And I only want them to see it 6 times or once. And so you can create these in-app guidance. So as your users are going to the various Lightning pages, they get pop-ups to help think from a training standpoint, or think of, hey, you just released a new feature or a new related list or whatever it is, and you want to make sure people see it. You can create this pop-up that pops up in the app itself to help users figure out what's going on.
Nice.
Or news articles, right? On the home tab, you want, hey, company pickets next week. Make sure you bring bug spray, pretty cool. The enhanced related lists.
Yay. Don't get too excited.
Yeah. So this is like, hey, you can show up to 10 columns, resize, sort the columns, perform X actions, wrap text.
Now the columns thing is huge.
Yes.
And wrap text and mass actions is pretty big. This strikes me as something they should have just done for all related lists rather than making a separate list type called enhanced list. But that's why this is beta, right?
Right.
They're just trying it out. So
right. Here's the big one. And this is the one I find really funny that you should not, they say, hey, it's beta, don't use this in production. And that's merge cases. So this is huge because previously you can only merge accounts, contacts, and leads in Salesforce alone without having to buy a third-party product. Yeah. Now you'll be able to merge up to 3 cases together into one case. So it's a max. You can't select 10 cases and merge them all into one. You can select up to 3. Again, beta feature that might change, but that's pretty darn cool. It's worth checking out. What I am a little concerned about is it doesn't look like, according to the release notes, that there's a permission specifically to allow people to be able to merge cases. Ooh. It's just whether or not the button is available on the list viewer of the page. So,
well, theoretically, if somebody didn't have the ability to delete cases, they wouldn't be able to merge. That's a requirement for merging accounts, contacts, and leads.
Theoretically, but it's not explicitly listed in the release note.
All right. Well,
so tread carefully is my point.
This one, I love this one. I've been wanting this forever.
Then you talk about
row level formulas and reports. Row level formulas and reports basically is the ability to have a column in your report that is a formula that is able to look back to the row level data and do it. So if you have fields that you've made, formula fields that are made, and their sole reason is just to provide some data on a report, congratulations. You can get rid of them once this beta becomes GA and actually have the formula only on the reports that you need it on rather than taking up all your custom fields.
Mm-hmm. We already talked about Automation Home. So the external access, for those folks who are using things like communities, you can now set external access org-wide defaults for more standard objects.
Yay. And they won't even tell us what in the release notes, but you can.
I know, but yay. Here's a big one for a lot of people, right to left languages.
They said this would never happen. They literally came out on stage and said, we will never do this. It is not going to happen.
But here we are.
But here it is.
But
right to left.
To be fair, it's beta.
But
what's really cool is if you look at the release notes, there's like this cascade of things because this impacts everything in Salesforce from right to left, emails and everything.
Yeah. If you look, you have to look in the release notes. Even if you're not interested in this whatsoever, you should still take a look at it and see the picture because it literally looks like Salesforce in a mirror.
Yeah.
Everything is flipped. It's wacky and awesome, but wacky.
Full record view. So This I really like for those folks who are really stuck on how Classic looks and really hate having their related list on the side or
I
a
have mixed
tab.
feelings about this.
You can now set the page to look the way it does in Classic. So you have your details section, and then underneath you have your related lists. And this is a page view default. So you can choose it between what we have now, which is called group view, or change it to the full view. And this might be nice for people who are transitioning. I mean, I like it. I can see this being nice for certain people.
For people who can't get over and get used to new things, learn new tricks. Yeah.
But I really do like having being able to use the group view and saying, you know, I don't need all 20 related lists available on the page when the page loads. I really only go to these 3, so I'm going to use that related single list to put those 3 on the sidebar. Put everything else in a tab. Yeah. You know, I'm fine with that.
As long as this could theoretically be controlled with every other Lightning setting. Like, if you can still control components and individual related lists, whether they're visible under certain conditions, then great. But if, like, any other Lightning feature is shortchanged because of this, then this is the...
Yeah. There is a thing called record page settings that you'll show up. You look in the quick finds, and that's where you can set whether or not this was an option for those of you already using Lightning. Okay. Even more betas.
More.
Quarterly forecasting. That's out there.
Okay.
Yay. A bunch of stuff for routing and communities. So skill-based routing without code. So using attribute-based routing. Doing a bunch of things regarding Salesforce CMS. So that's community stuff. Creating a report from the community. Doing the hover state. Take control of that hover state in the tile menu. Another community thing. Add Lightning web components to apps with Lightning out.
Interesting.
Yeah. Doing view data updates in real time with live controller. So that's a Visualforce thing.
Oh, wow. We're still supporting Visualforce. All right.
Well, yeah. Okay. So that's it for the bulk of the betas. On to the pilots. And I'm going to go really, really quickly on these.
Yeah.
Again, these are things that I want you just to know that it's out there, but don't necessarily plan on one being able to use them.
Right.
And I wouldn't recommend using any pilot in production ever.
No.
Okay. Muted permissions.
Yeah. I love this. I love this so much. It is a negative permission set. It is literally a permission set that you apply that takes away a permission. I love it. I want more of it.
Resolutions. All right. So this, I believe, has more to do with messaging and chat type of thing. Okay. Right? Something called WeChat.
That's I don't know what that is. What is WeChat? I don't know.
I'm guessing it's a chat. Because the release notes let customers communicate with support using WeChat.
Yeah, okay. WeChat is common in China. It's Tencent's major messaging platform. Is very popular there.
Okay. There's some analytics app building letting you to revert to previous saved versions of dashboards, lenses, and data flows. Being able to deploy predictions on Salesforce records without writing code. More analytic app stuff, again, in pilot. And even more pilots. Being able to monitor the accuracy of deployed modals in real time, so more analytics. Go global with new international date time formats.
Okay.
I laugh because I hear lots of complaints from people who are not from the United States complaining about how
they're adopting the international components for Unicode into date time. Okay, all right.
There's being able to force field level security in an Apex, being able to do query jobs in bulk API 2.0, doing mass operations with a single API call, doing managed package usage for apps analytics. So I think this is more for ISVs, right? Being able to see how your managed packages are being used. And then something called package version with ISV Hammer, which I have no idea what it is. It's about testing it. I'm not even going to go into it. But tons of pilots out there. If you're curious, go look at the release notes. Again, I usually say and highly recommend don't use these in production, period. Don't even try.
Last but not least, the most critical of updates.
Yeah, and this is going to be a dual thing. It's critical updates and retiring features.
And the least critical of updates.
No. Anyways, critical updates. TLS 1.2. So you may remember we had 1.1 about a year ago.
Yeah.
That was a year ago. Well, now it's 1.2.
This is going to be hell all over again.
For a lot of people. Yeah. I actually have a third-party app that the person stopped managing. Doesn't work because of TLS. Disable API-enabled user perm defaults for external profiles.
What? API-enabled user permission defaults?
So, like, you have an external profile, like a community, you can disable API.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
Okay. External org-wide defaults are going to be enabled in orgs with communities. So there's an option right now.
Orgs with community.
Yeah. There's an option right now that you can turn that on. And you really should turn it on.
Yeah,
it will just be turned on. TLS 1.2 is also going to be applying to connections with communities and sites. So that's a big thing. Here's one that, many of us have been screaming. The BR function, being able to do a line break in flows and process will actually
It's going to work again.
It's going to work.
It used to.
All right. I kind of wish.
Why is it a critical update? Isn't this just a bug?
We had this conversation the last time they did something with Flow. There was like, well, why is it a critical update?
Yeah.
But it's a critical update because people did things to get around that, and they don't want that to break. If I evaluate criteria based on the original record values in Process Builder, I think this is going to be huge. Mm-hmm. So this is how Process Builder is going to be doing evaluations as records have passed. So you can have a record go through and actually hit true multiple times, and which record Process Builder is going to use. Yeah, this is going to have a huge impact for lots of people, which is probably why it's a critical update.
Yeah.
Look at it. If you're using Process Builder, you got to look at it. Required user access to Apex classes invoked by Flow. So this is if you have an evocable Apex class, you have to make sure that user has access to the class,
in the
permissions to the class,
permission set,
right, to be able to actually use it.
Interesting.
All right. Retiring features. So this is kind of where we look off into the sky and do the, mockingbird thing. What's it? The tribute. Yeah, I already forgot the Mockingjay. Yes.
Hunger Games.
Process visualizer.
Brian.
I couldn't remember. Process visualizer.
Thank you.
Yeah. I'm going to guess this is going to go away because it's on Flash and they don't want to rebuild it.
Yeah.
But this
not that many
is...
people used it.
I used it. I loved it. I used it all the time in meetings because people have a hard time understanding how approval processes work. And so clicking that button to say, hey, here's a flow diagram that shows you what the approval process does.
That's true.
Right? I'm really sad to state there will be no more Cloud Flow Designer.
No. You have served us well. We have sent you off in a flaming boat.
Yeah, highly flaming. And swing flows. Mark, do you remember swing flows?
What are swing flows?
The desktop version of Flow.
No. Is that what it's called?
I'm pretty sure that's the app.
I do not miss swing flows.
I'm pretty sure it's the app that you had to install on your desktop to build a flow. Well, I'm sorry, people. It's no longer available.
No, thank you.
I didn't even know you could still do that.
Burn the body, salt the earth, do away with it forever. You got us to where we are. There. That's the nicest thing I can say.
Yes. Okay.
Are we done?
I'm done.
I think we're done.
I'm done.
We're spent?
Yeah. There's tons of stuff still in the release notes. There's things out there for field service about Einstein activity capture,
tons of Apex stuff.
Cloud, Apex stuff, community stuff, tons of other stuff that I think are kind of more niche, so we're not going to cover that in this podcast. But if you're using any of those, you want to go and check those out.
Yeah. You need to go through it. You need to go nuts and kick butts.
Yeah. So the other thing that's out there is there are the webinars for the release readiness that Salesforce does, and those are out there for a lot of them. I think there's still a few that are coming out. But if you go to where's my URL?
The URL in the show notes.
Did I put the URL in the show notes?
You could, is what I'm saying.
Oh no. Yeah, I'm saying I was going to see if I had the URL, but there'll be the URL. Yeah, check those webinars out too. They're kind of hit and miss for me. I think they're a little overly hyped. But
they're
I like
high level.
Yeah, they're very high level. I like to listen to them when I'm doing other things. But they're worth listening to. They are broken up. So for example, the video on platform is broken up by Lightning Platform, Notification Builder, the mobile app Shield, and some additional Q&A. It is worth taking a look at them even briefly.
And now it's time for our Salesforce video of the Indeterminate time until the next one.
Yeah, for bonus points, listeners, when was the last time we officially did this segment?
No, seriously, when? Because we don't actually remember. The link for today's video will be in the show notes, and it comes directly from the Trailhead team.
Personally, I think this video is just an excuse for Mark to talk funny and pretend he's really into metal music.
I'm sure I don't know what you're talking about, Brian. In the meantime, I shall be thrashing to some sick riffs.
Okay. So anyways.
The video is from Trailhead team, and it is called Trailshred.
Now, I personally think when I hear Trailshred, I think of someone shredding bark to layer a nice trail, along some like national park or something. But
okay,
that's
all right.
That's not what we're talking about, right?
Next, you're going to be thinking that it's about shredded wheat, like some old man who has to get his fiber in. This is the most unmetal thing ever, Brian.
What's wrong with shredded wheat? It's delicious.
You need to get metal.
Especially with a little bit of sugar on top. No,
this is so unmetal.
Look, I walk around with a wizard hat. No one is ever going to buy the fact that I am metal.
But do you exist in a wizard hat on the side of a panel van? Then it's not metal enough, Brian. It's not metal enough. This video
I do have a metal sliver from putting in garden panels.
It's about the Trailhead team and their newest promotion, and it is literally called Trailshred, and it does actually involve heavy metal. The video.
The video purports that you could do metal hand signals and it's going to do things.
I think that's the joke, but what it actually does have you doing...
I'm vastly disappointed now.
Well, what it does have you doing is a special Trailhead badge for a limited time only, I believe, that guides you in building a Lightning Web component, and at the end of it, you will have something that plays heavy metal riffs, like music, when you successfully complete close an opportunity.
That sounds interesting. You lost me on the heavy metal riffs. Can we replace it with Mozart? Some Chopin.
Only if the Mozart is being shredded on electric guitar
Night
by Extreme, which is actually abandoned. They actually did
Looking Glass
a song. They actually did a song where they did Mozart riffs.
Jim Croce.
If you say Jethro Tull, I swear I will punch you straight through this webcam.
Who's Jethro Tull?
Okay, you're safe. You can live today. Go on. Go fly away home, little bird. You can go now.
I'm confused. WizardCast is produced by Brian Kwong and Mark Ross, directed by Brian Kwong and Mark Ross, technical administration by Brian Kwong and Mark Ross, script writing by Brian Kwong and Mark Ross, audio editing by Brian Kwong and Mark Ross, website maintenance by Brian Kwong and Mark Ross, and our intern this episode was Don Robbins.
You could be an intern too. Just follow us at Nah, never mind. I'm just going to do it normally. You can follow us at WizardCast_pod on Twitter.
Or share the pictures you take with us at Salesforce events, and we'll get you added to the list.
Have a joke, interview suggestion, or other comments? Let us know. You can call and leave a voice recording at 608-492-0321.
You can also email us at thewizardcast@thewizardnews.com. And we really do want to hear from you. If you could ask Parker Harris any question, what would it be?
Submit a question by going to bit.ly/ParkerQuestions and fill out our short form.
And eventually we're going to do another idea exchange highlight. What ideas do you want other people to know about?
Go to bit.ly/idea highlight to submit that idea to us.
Don't forget to subscribe to the WizardCast and receive our next episode automatically.
And please post reviews on Apple Podcasts, aka iTunes, and share this episode. It helps others to hear what you just had to endure.
Once again, I'm Brian.
And I'm not going to take it, sweet child of mine. No, I'm going to rock even if it's 2 minutes to midnight, and I'll wait for the final countdown before I rock you like a hurricane. Raining blood!
Thanks for listening.
That might
No,
be weird.
you totally should keep
Is that not? I guess it's 80s. It's not metal. I'm gonna Google metal phone numbers and see
Jenny,
what comes
don't
up.
lose it up.
No, I'm getting phone numbers for places that sell metal. Metal suppliers.
I don't.
Can we move on, please?